lot of different connections in relation to it. And what we would find is that everyone wants the depth of the problem, not necessarily the biological depth. And sometimes when you're feeling that low, they both seem to be the same thing, but they are very, very different. So we can all, I suppose, you know exactly how that feels. We all have problems, and everyone wants the problem to die, but dying of the problem and dying of you physically are two very different things. What leads a lot of people to feel that way, I know Daniel has spoken about his own, it's what we would find lately is it's life events. That could be the loss of a job, which leads on to, it's not as simple as losing a job, it's leading on to person losing their identity, person losing their routine, losing the financial control they have, if they have a mortgage, if they have children, all of those kind of things. Relationship breakups are huge. A lot of people, we would find, your own age group, our biggest increase last year would have been in that kind of age group, anything from kind of 17 to 25. And it's the pressures of college and life and what's expected of you. And, you know, we usually only put all those pressures on ourselves, and I will talk about self-care just in a few minutes. We all suffer from those things, and we all suffer from bad mental health days. Some of those things are a bad day, and some of those things are people needing to want to end their lives if they feel they can't be here anymore. So nobody is immune from it. So even if you think you don't suffer from mental health, we do. We just all suffer from it in different ways, different levels, and we all have different coping skills. And we also have different support teams around us. So we are all very, very different in how we deal with it, but we do all suffer from it. We would find that a lot of people that we can see who have survived a suicide attempt actually do feel that those they're leaving behind, especially if someone has been depressed for a long time, and that brings its own problems, whether it's in the workplace or at home. But when someone, they actually do believe that the people that they're leaving behind are better off without them, and that they're actually releasing the family, ordinarily most of the time they're leaving behind, with one less problem to worry about, that if somebody is not there, they don't have to worry about them. Now, when we deal with those who have been bereaved, we know that that is just not true. We have yet to meet someone bereaved by suicide who actually would say, actually, do you know what, they were right, I am better off without them. So we know that that's a misconception. But we do know it's very true by people who have survived a suicide attempt, that they actually genuinely do feel that they're leaving whoever they're leaving behind before they know it. We asked a counsellor, because as Daniel said, talking is the biggest, it's the way forward when you're feeling that way. So we asked from the counsellor side of the table, because they're taking such responsibility for this person, what the mindset of, in their opinion, the mindset of somebody suffering from mental health or wanting to end their life would feel like. And one of them had said, it's like Christmas lights when you take them down out of the attic, and they're all tangled up. And all you're seeing is this tangle of Christmas lights, and they're completely knotted, and you can't take them out, and they're all, So the only way to start taking them Christmas lights apart is one at a time. And you might get the first one out by yourself, and great, and you're on a roll. And you might get the second one out on it, and you're fine. And you have another 100 to go, but you get to the third one, and it's a little bit harder. So you ask somebody's help, or somebody's opinion. Then you get to the fourth, the fifth one, and it might be fine, and you could be on the next, you could be 20 even. And you ask for somebody's help. And that's how we unravel the Christmas lights. It's a bit like the mindset. It's not going to happen in 5 minutes. It's not going to happen in one counselling session, and most certainly is not going to happen overnight. It's a long process, and it's help, and there's loads of help out there for everybody. It's finding the right help for you. It's very hard to take the first step. The other thing then, in relation to taking the first step, what we would say to people who, the other person on the other side of the table is what's called an invitation. If somebody tells you that they're not feeling okay, or it's like, so people are not going to come to you and say, I feel like ending my life. Somebody's going to say, do you know what, I've had a really crappy week, I feel really shit today. The pressure's on due that assignment, and the counsellor is emailing me. That is an invitation. They're inviting you to ask them, well, why did you have a shitty week? What happened today? What happened yesterday? What happened last week? Because if people didn't want you to know what was going on, they wouldn't be telling you. So they are actually inviting you to ask, are they okay? Now, that question, if you're not in a position to answer that question or to ask that question, say to them, do you know what, do you want to talk to somebody else? Because we're all great at talking, but when you're hearing somebody laying their life on the line or telling you their problems, it's very different. So if you can't answer that question, find somebody, who will talk to them. Find a tutor, find somebody. We all live in very busy houses, and we'd all like to think, I would like to think that everyone here can go home and turn to somebody in their family if they have a problem. Not always the way. Some of us live in very busy houses, but are very lonely houses too. So there'll always be somebody to look out for you. With school children, I always say, we all give out about t-shirts, but there's always one cool tutor. The same here, I'm sure you all give out about tutors, but I'm sure there's one or two of them that you would approach. Even though every one of them will take you on a heartbeat, you might feel comfortable approaching them all, but there'll always be one or two. There'll always be someone at a football, or GAA, or whatever one of those sports you go to. Or the other thing I always say to teenagers, or to anyone really, there's always a friend's mum and dad. You'll always get on with a friend's mother and father, probably better than you get on with your own. They're approachable. If you are in that area where you haven't got anyone and you genuinely feel you don't have anyone, that's where you turn to the likes of SOSAD or any other organisation or frontline that's there to help. Another huge thing about mental health, and one thing leading to another, is our own self-care, which Daniel actually hit on perfectly. We're all great at looking after everybody else, and we forget to look after ourselves. And if you are not in the right mindset to help yourself, then most certainly you're not in the right mindset to help somebody else. So remove yourself from pressures that you feel are going to be detrimental to your mental health. And I'm not talking about you have a class at 10 o'clock and it's 9 o'clock and you don't want to get out of bed. I'm talking about if you are coming in to attend college or to have the pressures of assignments or whatever that might be is doing damage to your mental health, you need to take a step back and you need to deal with that. Because believe me, one extra year in college or dropping out and not coming back or taking a different route is not going to matter in the grand scheme of things if you're not here. So we need to look after our own mental health, remove ourselves from stresses that we find ourselves in. But look after yourself and put yourself first, and then if you're okay, you can look after other people. We in SOSAD do an awful lot of work on awareness, and what we try to do is we try to bring suicide prevention back to basics. There is a top-down approach and there's a bottom-up approach. Top-down is government to us millions on the street. Bottom-up is us millions on the street up to government. And we feel that it's us, the little people on the street, looking out for one another, asking one another, are we okay? Having talks like this, listening to people who have been through it, all of them things. That's what bottom-up approach means, and that's why we feel suicide prevention comes back to the very tiniest of things, looking out for one another, asking a friend, are you okay? Asking the big brother that you killed that morning, are they okay? All the rest. Those little things is just ask people, are they okay? And that's why things will change. Things have changed dramatically, as we spoke about earlier on. And the word commit suicide comes from, it was an illegal act up until 1993. We always have these conversations, how are you ever supposed to find somebody or charge them from dying by suicide, but that's what the commit is, it's commit suicide. So we try to say die by suicide now because it's no longer an illegal act. And it is being talked about now. And things are the tide is turning. The thing about having bad days for all of us is we all have them. The trick is don't let one bad day turn into a second bad day, which is a bad week, which is a bad month. If you're having a bad day, try and turn it around. Try to talk to somebody. If you see changes in behaviour in somebody, I always simplify this, but I hope you get the concept of why I'm saying it. I always bring it back to coming into school or college or work, whatever it is, and there's one person who's immaculately, she's up at 6 o'clock in the morning and she's immaculately made up every morning. And the full face of makeup, all the clobber, the hair straightened, everything. And one morning she comes in, the hair's not straightened. I'm not saying run up to her now and say, you're not thinking about ending your life, are you? Right? So put it into concept. But she comes in the second day and it's the same, and there's something different in that behaviour. So you go and you say, geez, I noticed your hair. Now I am really simplifying this now, but just so you get the idea. You say, I noticed your hair's not straightened this morning or yesterday morning, but you always have had your hair straightened. I know you 10 years, I've never known you not to straighten your hair. Is there something up? And she might say, the straightener's broke. Or do you know what, I'm looking for a change of image. But she might say, actually, I just don't have the energy to straighten my hair in the mornings now because those 10 minutes are so, and she might need them for something else, right? It's a bit like this student going to football every week, and he's at training 2 nights a week, and he's at the match every Saturday, and he stops coming to one training session. Could be a usually easy explanation: no car, man's not there to drive me, don't have the money for subs, whatever it might be. But if somebody's changing their natural routine, that's what you look out for. People giving away keepsakes, things that belong to them that are very meaningful for them. If someone is giving you have a best friend and she's giving you something that you know she cherishes, huge red flag. Things like that. The obvious is somebody talking about death. Talking about funeral, talking about how you could end your life, things like that. They're all massive red flags, which we are all ready for. It's the smaller, tiptoe things that we need to be looking out for. If somebody has been hugely depressed, and I'm talking about, extremely bad that they are talking about ending their life or harming themselves, and then they suddenly become okay overnight. If you know for a fact that they're not seeing a counsellor, they haven't gone to their GP, they're not speaking to anyone, and they've suddenly become okay, that's another huge red flag. Because if that person has been talking about suicide and now suddenly seems okay, that means they have made peace with their own decision. So these things are huge things to be looking out for. But like I said, we're trying to go bottom up, bottom down, top up. It's the smaller things we want to look out for. The one thing that's doing the rounds, and it's very much, I know Stanley had it up in his slideshow as well, it's okay not to be okay, and that is, we cannot say that enough. It is okay not to be okay. If you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. It doesn't make it the worst in the world. It doesn't mean you're going to end your life, but we all have bad days. It's actually quite okay, believe it or not, to feel suicidal. It's just not okay to die from it. Don't let the bad day turn into the bad week. Just then what we do then is, we are there 24 hours a day. You come in to us for a psychological assessment, which would enable me to see your level of risk and assign the correct counsellor, because different counsellors have different skills and different abilities and different professional ones that they would like to put in. So that would allow me to do that, so we give you the right counsellor. Our service is completely free. Some people are scared by the word psychologist, psychiatrist, all of them things. Medication is another thing people are scared of. Medication does have its place. And you might imagine that if somebody has a million things going on in their head and they're not sleeping. We all know what it's like here, we don't have good night's sleep. We're like a lunatic the next day. Anyone walks past you, that's it. Anyone has a young baby knows you have 2 nights of long sleep. So you may imagine somebody who cannot switch off and who is not sleeping any night. Medication, in one respect there, calms them down, helps them sleep. Because the medication is great and it has short term, it doesn't cure whatever is going on. Whatever is going on needs to be talked about. So medication combined with counselling or talking, reaching out to somebody, that's how we can all move forward. We know this works because we are 6 years in SOSAD. Well, I am 6 years with SOSAD in Cavan, and we have never lost a client. So we know that talking and getting it out on the table, and it's not like I said, it won't be one session. Could be 2 sessions, could be 3 sessions, could be 100 sessions. And all of them are free, and we are there for whenever you need them. We have literature downstairs, and we have a couple of things that go on in the evening as well. We have a bereavement support group for anyone who has been bereaved by suicide. Because it's a very different bereavement when if somebody is sick or if they're old. Suicide is very different bereavement. We also have a group that meet there for the family of addicts. Again, everything, we all help the addict, but we forget about the people that surround them on a day-to-day basis. Wednesday night we have an art therapy group, solutions for people who want to use art to express themselves with the effects of suicide. On Thursday night, which is another big increase, is Gamblers Anonymous. So they're there on the Thursday night. So we have a range of things that we offer, all free of charge, on the doorstep. So please don't, everything is 100% confidential. And we are a charity, but we are still bound by regulations and governance and all of that, and ethics and all of them things. So please just reach out, don't suffer alone. Okay, thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to ask anything or no?
Okay, thank you, Christine, for that. That was great. Just to wrap up then, day 1 for mental health awareness. I think it went really well, and I hope everyone enjoyed all the speakers and activities that we had. I personally feel that if we had 1, maybe 2 people today in some way, today was a huge success. Okay, that's my